Look, the public battle we see playing out day in and day out between Secretary Pete Hegseth and Senator Mark Kelly is completely political. It is not legal. I'm Joshua Tolan, a military trial lawyer. In my decade of active duty service with the Air Force, I was both a senior prosecutor and a senior defense counsel. And now I help our brothers and sisters in arms from all the services, whether they are still fighting to keep serving their country or they're veterans fighting to correct injustices from when they served. First, what is a censure? The censure Secretary Hegseth put out is what we call administrative action in military law. He started by threatening court-martial, but when he realized that Senator Kelly's video could not get him to a UCMJ crime, he switched gears. Now, this happens all the time in the UCMJ. Someone is accused of something incredibly serious. Law enforcement investigates, the Office of Special Trial Counsel might consider prosecution, then the case goes back to command for action. Even when the lawyers cannot prosecute under the UCMJ, command often issues administrative action against the person they couldn't prosecute. But Senator Kelly is a retiree, not active duty. And yes, retirees can be court-martialed for their post-service conduct. But let's take a look at that video.
Senator Mark Kelly, I was a captain in the United States Navy. You can refuse illegal orders.
Now, even though Secretary Hegseth and the president have called this video seditious, the law says the opposite. Article 94 of the UCMJ makes sedition a crime. Sedition is about creating a revolt, violence, or disturbance against civil authority. This video is not about civil authority. But what about mutiny? Mutiny is also a crime under Article 94 of the UCMJ. That's a crime for usurping lawful military authority by refusing to obey orders. Also, soliciting a crime under the UCMJ is its own crime. Article 82 of the UCMJ prohibits people soliciting another offense under the UCMJ. Here, the illegal orders video, as described by some in news media and some in the political world, would in fact be a violation of Article 82 for soliciting mutiny. But look and listen closely. The video actually solicits service members to refuse illegal orders. That is not mutiny, and that is not soliciting mutiny under the UCMJ. Look, this is not a political read, this is the law. And that's why there is no court-martial of retired Captain Senator Kelly. That's why administrative action is all Secretary Hegseth can do. Okay, so let's talk about the censure. Yes, retirees can be censured. It's just like written administrative action taken against military members every day. It's like a GOMAR, or a letter of reprimand, or a page 11. So why censure a retiree? Well, so it goes in their personnel file. If a retiree commits some sort of personal misconduct while retired, but it's not serious enough to be court-martialed, or they can't prove a court-martial offense, a censure is legitimately a way to record those actions. So if that person is ever called back to active duty or faces a potential promotion, their record is complete. But this censure is political because real admin action is private. Real admin action is not publicized. It is not served on the person through Twitter. The only people who really know the contents of actual admin action are the JAGs advising the command, the issuer of the admin action, the accused, and his or her attorney, not the whole world. You know, the Privacy Act of 1974 actually applies to admin actions. That's why when a commander is accused of something serious, the only answer the public hears is they were removed for loss of trust and confidence. Even if that allegation ultimately turns into administrative action, the public does not get to see the reprimand. Okay, how about the threat to reduce Senator Kelly's rank? Officer ranks are different than enlisted members. At a court-martial, an enlisted member can lose rank as a punishment. But if an officer is court-martialed, even at a general court-martial, an officer cannot be stripped of rank. Instead, an officer grade determination is what we use to determine a retired officer's pay. We call it an OGD. When you hear in the news that a general lost his rank at a court-martial, that is simply not true. That loss of rank happens in the administrative world after any misconduct is actually substantiated. The statute that applies is 10 U.S.C. section 1370. That law and an OGD is all about what rank an officer served satisfactorily, not honorably, not without mistakes, not perfectly, satisfactorily. Short of a court-martial, a retired officer normally only faces censure for post-retirement misconduct. Yes, an OGD can be reopened by the Secretary of Defense for good cause. That comes specifically from 10 U.S.C. 1370 subsection F. But even if the OGD is reopened under that subsection, the actual grade determination is about that rank the person served, not post-retirement conduct. So what's this all mean? If Secretary Hegseth does actually reopen Senator Kelly's OGD, then Senator Kelly gets a chance to respond. And if Secretary Hegseth does in fact reduce Senator Kelly's retired grade because of the video, then Secretary Kelly will have an incredibly strong argument for that action to be overturned by the federal courts. That's why this battle is not legal. It is all political